everyone. I'm Sean Wortham. Thank you for tuning in to the Charter School Connection podcast. Right before the holidays, back in 2022, I met with Sena High School out in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I was able to talk with the principal, Jennifer Prye, and the basketball and student success coach, Lawrence Jackson. They had some awesome stories about kind of the unity they've been seeing out at their school, out in Albuquerque. They've had a lot of trials. They serve a community of underprivileged and forgotten about teens who just maybe had some trouble with the law in the past, or they're just coming from these homes that aren't super supportive. And so I was just curious to figure out how they were educating their students, how they're growing, how they're running their facility in order to create an environment like they do, one that is embracing and empowering. They share success stories of students that came with all this baggage, and now that they're just performing on all cylinders, and it's just so cool to see that. And so I hope that you enjoy this podcast, learning about their success stories and what they're doing out in Albuquerque. Hope you enjoy it. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the Charter School Connection podcast. I'm your host, Sean Wortham. I'm here with two special guests today, Jennifer Prye, who is the principal of Sena High School out in Albuquerque, New Mexico. With her is also Lawrence Jackson, who is the student success coordinator and coach. And he also coaches the basketball team out there at Sena High School in Albuquerque. So I want to thank both of you guys for taking time out of your busy schedules to meet with me. So
thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. I'm really looking forward to diving into your school because it's just unique from other charter schools. And for those who've listened to our Trinity Charter Schools podcast, I think you're going to see a lot of awesome similarities as this is a school trying to reach out to students, trying to provide second chances. But anyways, to dive right into it, I was wondering, starting with Jennifer, if you could just give us a quick autobiography of who you are, like your history and how you came to be the principal at Sena High.
Sure. So I actually am an athletic trainer by trade, and I had my first athletic training position where I was essentially forced to teach. It was either I could be an athletic trainer and this teacher, or I could throw my resume out there again and go do something else. So I was lucky enough to have a mentor, and who was also my boss, kind of, really coached me up to giving teaching a shot alongside this at a very inner city high school in Denver by the name of Abraham Lincoln High School. I was lucky enough there to be, mentored, same deal along the way, by a principal by the name of Scott Mendelsberg. He's the author of College Now. And it was there I learned the importance of a master's degree in pursuit as an educator, because I was quickly becoming very fond of teaching, just like I still had a really strong passion for sports medicine and athletes. And from there, I went to get my master's degree at UNLV as the head women's volleyball athletic trainer and adjunct instructor there. And as I was that adjunct instructor, they actually moved me permanently over to the athletic training education program because I was a better teacher teaching my craft to other students who needed the experience to develop their athletic training clinical skills on college athletes.
Wow.
So while I was there, I met my husband, who also happened to be enlisted in the Air Force at the time. So that took me on a journey to from Las Vegas, Nevada to San Antonio, Texas, back out to Vandenberg Air Force Base in California, where I became a Health and Wellness Careers Academy coordinator, still really getting to teach my craft. And I didn't have the responsibility of late nights of athletic training anymore, because I was now by then also a mom of two boys. Wow. So it was there that I again had another awesome mentor, Celeste Pico, said, you really need to give administration a shot. We think you'd be really good at it. Nope. I see how hard you guys work, the hard conversations and the not fun stuff that you guys get to do. Not us. No, I'm not doing it. And she's like, no, I really think you really need to give it a shot. So, and I was in this sort of spots, not quite an assistant principal, not really a dean, little bit better than a department chair. So she coached me enough to keep an open mind. And when I got to Albuquerque, we PCS'd to Kirtland Air Force Base, where I knew my husband's military career was ending, and the promise was it was my turn. So we got to Albuquerque, and I realized how much help was needed here. And classroom work was, by that time I was still, I was still teaching and loving it, but it was definitely kind of time to try something new. So I went to work and got my administrator license from our local alternative education program here called the Cooperative Extension Service. And I went into administration. I've been in administration now 4 years and was an assistant principal for 2 at Mission Achievement and Success Charter School. I was a director and principal, founding director of academics and principal for a K-8 charter school up in Santa Fe. Is the first state charter school
Wow.
in New Mexico. So it was a very good learning experience up there, and was super lucky enough to be selected for this position in July.
Wow. Crazy. So what does your husband do now?
So he's got 2 years left, and he is stationed in an unaccompanied tour. So he's by himself over at Incirlik Air Base in Turkey.
Holy cow. Well, man, so I'm sure that adds some stress, just being, I don't know, separated from your husband, him being halfway across the world.
It's
Jen wears the Superwoman cape quite a bit.
I appreciate that. I got a crazy stubborn independent streak too.
Nice.
So while there are days where Lawrence and I joke about the third shift, trying to go home and get kids to practice and stuff like that. Yeah, that's tiring and that's hard. But it's okay. It's fine. Yeah.
Wow. I'm beyond impressed. I feel like we could do a whole podcast on how to manage your time and with you. So cool. Well, thanks, Jennifer.
It just lives in my favorite color, daytimer.
And that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit about your story. Sure. And Lawrence, if you don't mind just explaining to me how you came to this position.
Oh man, I kind of had a different path.
Hijacked him.
Huh?
He said, "How did you become in this position?" I said, "I hijacked him."
Yes, very true. And I would love for Jen to tell that story. How that unfolded. That's a good story. But no, I'm originally from Chicago. Went to college in Florida. I've always been an athlete, always played sports, got into coaching with my kids as they were getting older and wanting to play sports. Kind of fast track a little bit, was in Florida for 15 years. My son's mom is from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we had been visiting, back and forth, and she really wanted to get back to some family and friends and kind of just get back to what she knew. And we decided to move here in 2018. Summer of 2018, and as I was in the transition of my last job, trying to find work here, her mother-in-law, my mother-in-law, was the college and career counselor at MAS, Mission Achievement and Success. So they were in need of an athletic director and kind of someone to kind of head up their after school program and kind of get kids more engaged in some of the things that I was doing in Florida with some friends of mine who started, a friend of mine started a company called HS, which was helping young athletes succeed. So I was partnered up with him, and we're doing a lot of training and coaching athletes. And so they really liked what I was doing in Florida and kind of wanted to implement something like that at MAS. So I got on there as athletic director and attendance coach. That I was there for almost 4.5 years before, as Jen says, hijacked me. But I ended there as the dean of MAS charter. My last position was the elementary dean before Jen did the hijacking. But that's kind of how I got into this position. Kind of really just fell into my laps. I'm really good with kids. Get along great with people, and I always make a joke that I'm just a dad trying to figure it out, and but yeah, just really fell into my lap. I have as much as I love my sports and training and coaching, my previous job in Florida was sales and management. So I think just my that background with the sales and management piece just helps me relate and understand people. I have 4 kids of my own, so them seeing me react, or how I react to kids in certain situations. And I have a similar background to some of our kids here with some of the bad decisions or poor decisions that I made as a young teenager. I can relate to some of them. And like I said, having kids their age, my oldest being 20, going through his, transition from young man to, now a man, I have a lot of relatable stories and can relate to them a lot. So I think it's easier for them to come and find someone that they can talk to, kind of relate to, kind of understands. I can kind of somewhat, speak the language, of a 15, 16-year-old. They kind of, oh, he's not that bad, and it kind of makes the conversation go a little easier. So for me, I've been very fortunate to have Jen, at MAS to help mentor me and kind of guide me and kind of lead me into some of the things that I've learned and kind of where I'm at right now. But really just, I can't lie, it really just kind of fell into my lap, not really anything I was looking for, just kind of like, hey, you be good at this. You should start trying to do this and do that. And as I pursued it, it just, everything's, this hand that I've been dealt has been, been all aces. I can't complain. I
All
can't
aces,
complain.
okay.
Yeah, I just can't complain. I'm just, it's a win-win for me, so. But
So
that's
cool.
kind of my story, kind of in a nutshell. I guess we could dive in a little deeper of some of the choices that led me to the position, I guess. But in a nutshell, like I said, from Florida to here, and being in position to have people like Jim Prye, mentor me and kind of take me under their wing and just kind of mold me, into a student success coach or dean. Into this position, and I buy in into what we're trying to do here, and we're doing good things. We're doing good things here. So
Leave it.
yeah.
So you're talking about what you're leading into what you do at Sena High, and I was wondering if both of you could just take a second or a moment to explain to me the history of Sena High and kind of what makes Sena High School unique.
Sure.
About the history.
Yeah. So we've been a charter since 2004 here, founded by, but literally our name, Gilbert L. Sena Charter High School. It was originally 2 different charter schools, one on the west side, one on the east side, where we still reside today. As charter school growth, and communities change, Sena High has been able to really roll with it for, kind of for lack of a better term. Founded by a student like ours, his late wife actually still serves on our governing board. And she describes him as one of the kids at school. I mean, just one of the kids at school. Never really understood, probably made some bad choices along the way. And instead of being taught how to correct the mistakes and to be given another shot at life, he was a dropout individual. So he, part of his mission in charge has always been to serve kids who learn differently and need individualized instruction.
Yeah.
So over as Sena's mission statement and vision statement has evolved to what it is today, it's always been a relentless pursuit of giving students an opportunity to accelerate their learning no matter what, and that they're celebrated in that success as they re-navigate life, whether they're correcting a mistake that's their fault or not, right?
Yep.
Today we can earn up to 8 credits a year based on our credit recovery model. We offer summer school, and we do offer what's called a flexible schedule. So essentially 2 shortened sessions where the students have intense individualized credit recovery, data-driven instruction. And then as they see the regular, for example, English 10 class, grade 10 classes, English 10, geometry, chemistry, those are all live taught, hands-on learning. On Fridays, we've got a half day so the students can learn to see and appreciate the value beyond the classroom. Up to the pandemic, that hadn't been done well. It was all about getting in and getting the credits accomplished. Yeah. Okay, so after the pandemic, it was very evident across the entire world, it's certainly across the nation, that not only did we have to close an achievement gap that can take up to 4 years to re-navigate. That's what research and data is telling us now. The students still don't understand what they want to do when they grow up. Yeah. Because they don't see the value of, for example, needing to read on grade level. They don't see the value of, having basic algebra logic expressions to be able to, work up the street at Intel and some of the engineering fields. They don't know how to run a basic checkbook, so therefore they'll never be able to work at a bank type thing. Now, a lot of our kids are blue collar, trades types of students. So, cars, auto mechanics, cosmetology, things like that. Those are all at the forefront of our work ed and dual credit program. Okay. And that kind of in a nutshell kind of brings us up to our half day, Friday. On the back side of this pandemic, where I'm really excited to dig in and get my experience going and get really high quality, high level teachers and humans, like Jackson, is for students to be able to understand what it means to be celebrated. It's not a kid's fault all the time that they can't sit still in class. Yeah. Right? It's not the kid's fault all the time that they're late, right? Now, I also recognize that kids lie. For example, I'll tell teachers all the time when we're trying to lay out a system, hashtag kids lie. We got to be better about running it down. Yeah. And being able to talk the language amongst each other, because kids are kids. They're not only are they coming to us with some kind of trauma or whatever, they also are kids. They're going to push the envelope. As my predecessor and I were communicating, I was being onboarded. She was very excited for the project-based learning approach, the service learning approach, and really digging into a restorative practice and restorative culture where kids are still held to a high level and a high standard, but we're not going to kick them out the very second they don't pass a class, right? We're not going to kick them out the very second they, do a vape pen or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. There's an element of safety here that I'm really proud of. That's very evident. The school, typically charter schools don't have athletics. Lawrence and I know to our core, it's often athletics and a place to belong that will save a kid's life. Mm-hmm. So being able to coordinate, have funding to get that off the ground, and clearly the talent in the room, the talent on this call, has been instrumental to make that kind of that historical shift, if you will, happen.
Absolutely. I mean, I gotta just throw this in there. Like, I mean, we used to have a hard time getting them to come to school. Here we are on a half day Friday where kids leave at 12:40 and my basketball team's still here at 2 o'clock. We're at the mall. They're like, no, we're going back to school. We're like, no, you can go home. We talk to your parents. They're like, no, we're gonna come back to school. And here they are in the back, still here at school, wanting to be here. So I definitely feel the culture is making the shift in the right direction, because where do you find kids on a Friday get done at 12:40 and here it is 2 o'clock, still want to be at school after being at the mall?
Man, that's crazy.
So
And you have to tell me if this guess is accurate or not, but with students that come from their backgrounds that you've mentioned, and with you offering this basketball program, I feel like you're like a real like walking, breathing like Coach Carter. Do you know the movie Coach Carter?
yeah, I remember Coach. Yeah.
Is that true at all? Like where you're like
No,
shake.
I will say not entirely. Definitely could take some things from that though. Definitely not as hard. My approach can't be as hard with our kids because obviously we're and the way I look at things, I got to look at things from a very realistic standpoint of like, how far can I really push before they understand that it's coming from a place that they understand before they get up and walk out and quit or give up. So I have to be careful. And like me and Jen always say, we got to tote the line, on when we kind of crack the whip and how we do it. So my approach is a lot more very laid back, a lot more conversation. Let's get into some communication and talk instead of, I told you you can't do this, or this isn't the right way. You can't do it this way, and you got to give them the why, why they shouldn't do this and why this isn't a good idea. And let's try this instead, so definitely have more conversation around a lot of things that I do and giving them the why. Jen is like embedded in our brains here is ask the second question. We gotta keep communicating and ask those second questions. So but yeah, I have my moments. I definitely have my moments, but they know that it's coming from a place of care. They also know that at the end of the day, I got their back. I may have come down on them on something or this particular situation or thing, but they know I got their back, and they know that if I'm coming down on them like that, that it's serious, So I try to stay out of that space because we've been building relationships with the families here. I know we're going to get into one of my players now and their situation, but just that alone, how quickly they rallied around him. Where before it would have been, not me, I don't really care. They really embraced the new culture standard that we're setting the tone here and the expectations, that brotherhood, kind of we're family community here at Sena High. And I think we're getting the families to kind of buy into that now. A lot of families are coming into the building. They're asking questions. They're getting involved. Whereas I don't think they had that a lot before, or having someone call them and say, hey, no, you need to come in the building. We need to have a face-to-face sit down. We sit down at the table and let's have a conversation about what's going on. How can we help? What can we do? We're invested in you, but at the same time, we're not going to work harder than you. We're going to work hard, but we're not going to work harder than you, so you got to show us and meet us halfway to make sure we're all on the same page. And I think the more we continue to have those conversations and the more that's kind of the word getting out, I can't go into a basketball game now without recruiting another player. And we're only 2-2. You know what I mean? I tell Jen, we go to the games and I go, hey, we just recruited another player, or this guy wants to come to our school now, or kids coming here. We've seen in the stands, like, I want to go to this school. We're at a basketball game. We're not talking about academics. We're not, we're just playing basketball, so I definitely feel the shift. And I think that the more we get more people on board and we get more families and more parent engagement, it's really we're going to see it not just in the behavior and the attendance, but then the biggest thing is we're going to see it in academics. Once we get everybody fully invested in what we're doing and what the purpose is and that mission, I think the academics are going to be a huge turnaround. Because obviously, for me, I look at the three things: attendance, behavior, academics, because if any of those are affected, the behavior and attendance, huge impact on the academics. So I'm really hoping that once we get the behavior and attendance under control and we get more parent engagement and people involved and invested the way we're starting to feel that shift kind of change, that it's going to have a huge impact on the kids wanting to be here, wanting to get involved in our work, in their work, and listening to the teachers and kind of just really just being engaged, So I feel that's where we're going right now. I could feel it. We're making a shift. So
I'd also add that was perfect. In addition to the basketball, like this is in addition to the basketball and the relentless pursuit of the why and asking the second question. Here's another second kid story that's very fresh today. We had a young man come from our juvenile detention center. We've had a couple. This was the first one that walked in the door. Fresh out of about 9 months of serving behind bars. He comes in on what we call CCP, on an ankle monitor, and he's uncontrollably emotional about the relief he had that he wasn't locked up anymore. And we always have, research tells us and experience tells us that we don't have sorry, I got somebody knocking on my door. They have no idea I'm on the podcast right now.
Miss Patty.
Does she need it?
I just saw it through your little window.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I'll finish this and I'll go see what's happening here. This young man came to us in August. Did emotional. But I'm sorry. Hold on one second.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was talking to Jennifer earlier. She said that she works with a lot of, law enforcement to work on building relations to get people to. That's one way you guys get students. It seems like through basketball, through relations with, people in town. That's how you guys get kind of this inflow of students. Is that how you've been seeing it?
Right now, yeah, it seems that way. And then now I think another piece is just word of mouth, really just, students are telling other students, parents are telling other parents. And I feel the shift of even though we're serving, the second chance and these kids that have been maybe removed from another school or coming from some kind of detention center, now we have, what we would consider just a normal average kid who just wants to be a part of what we're doing here, coming through the door and going, no, I like the small classrooms. I like the culture. I like the environment. I like that, you guys are having a conversation with me, I like the way I'm being just overall being treated. And I think that shift has made a huge change. And now we're seeing just all kinds of students, it isn't just Gilbert Center, all the second chance, all those kids, they're all been kicked out of this or that.
Yes.
Now we're just coming in, we're just Sena high. It's just, it isn't where I want to get us away from that tag, because that's not all we are. We're not just a second chance. I mean, that's school is founded and based on, but that's not all we are now. At least I feel that it's going in that direction.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry about that. Because the two, what Jackson just described was, these are two totally polar opposite students that I work with today. The young man visibly upset coming in from law enforcement. He still lies through his teeth. We still have lots of work to do around him for sure. For the first time in 5 years, he passed all of his classes but one.
Man.
For the first time in 5 years. Now they're not great grades to be writing home about, but the sheer look on that young man's face was priceless. And we keep talking about the lying and not telling the truth, and you got to make the right choice. And do you want to go back to the D home? I have nothing left to give. You can't lie. We've got integrity here. Those types of things. The look on his face was priceless. And I walk right down the hallway after again celebrating with him and so forth. He's the first to now help out on some fall on some winter cleanup. And then the very next student is literally just a student down the street wanting to come because she trusts, to a former student of mine, because she trusts me, trusts Jackson. She just wants a clear space and in a clear head to come finish her 5 credits that she has left, or 5 classes that she has left. That's it. Yeah.
Man,
So the target on the back and the shift, just by doing simple things like asking the second question and developing a culture where kids belong here and are seen for who they are, I think has been instrumental.
so both of you have talked about like word of mouth, and you said there's like a student that joined because she was a previous student of yours. And I'm just curious, with these students that come from, difficult pasts, what do you do to inspire them and to earn their trust? Because I know a lot of them have like their guard up and they put up barriers and walls. What have you done in the past to break down these walls, earn their trust, and eventually like inspire them?
Jackson's a pro at this. Go ahead, Jackson.
It's as easy as sometimes I may make it look to someone looking at me work or build up these relationships. It's kind of just an in the moment kind of gauging and feeling out the student based on their situation, because every student has a different story, different situation, and really being able to like listen, stop talking, listen to them, give them the space and the time that they need to just get it out, and then being able to, somewhat be able to relate to them most of the time. And then, I normally start with, some interest, what I kind of get off of, let's say we're dealing with a student who the parents are in jail, they're living with auntie, they're not doing good in school, they're barely here, they need resources, and it's just hard, and they're tired, and they're taking care of siblings, they're trying to work, and it's just hard, so being able to get them in a space to talk about other interests that they might have, maybe they're into cosmetology, maybe they're into basketball and they want to just, find different outlets. So being able to have a conversation about other things other than just their primary focus has been helpful. Being able to check-ins, we just call them check-ins, just getting them 5-10 minutes every day. Hey, how you doing today? Hey, talk to me about, did you get to talk to mom on the phone, or things like that? Or, hey, do you have everything that you need? Just quick check-ins, always greeting them with a smile. Sometimes we hug them, because sometimes they need it, but letting them know that, and I have my kids, up here like, hey, I got kids, I understand, but I'm not your parent. I'm not your parent. I can't do all, but I can help, and if you just need me to just sit here and listen, to vent, if you need to go outside and scream or cry or whatever, you're in that space, and we can do that here. So I think just a lot of patience, a lot of listening, giving them the time that they need, because sometimes really, they just need a minute to just kind of just sit back, get it together. And we realize, perfect example, Cadence. The kid name's Cadence Nelson here, and he's on our basketball team, and he has come just full circle, just complete turnaround. But he is one that can literally go from 0 to 100 like that with the quick temper, and we found out just giving him a space. Okay, he's yelling and he's mother effing and he's aging out and he's angry. And then you give him 5 minutes, he'll literally turn back around, walk back in Miss Prye's office, go, Miss, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Whereas before, he might have not done that. He might have, done something else that might have got him in trouble. So as my team is at the door now. But, just really giving them that time, giving them that space, being able to listen to them. And just kind of, like you said, just like Jen always says, ask that second question, just get them talking, find out some interest, and just kind of build on it, but every kid, every situation is different. It's hard for me to pinpoint just one thing that I do. I think I let them know that when they start talking, that I'm listening. I'm not on my phone. I'm not distracted by anything else. I'm just listening to them. I'm giving them my undivided attention. And I think a lot of them don't get that. So once they know that I'm actually listening and I'm engaging with them in the conversation, I'm really listening to them. I think that's a big piece for me. And I think once they know that, that little bit of trust starts happening, and then we just start just chipping away. Then it's just everyday check-ins, even if it's just a, hey, how you doing? A quick whisper in the ear. Hey, I know we had the conversation yesterday. Is everything good? I see you made it to school on time. How's mom doing? How's grandma? Things like that. Really listening to the little things that they say and then bringing it back up, just so they know that I was paying attention.
Yeah.
And I do. But I think just building that trust, but that's such a hard question because it's just so hard to just pinpoint one thing that I do. But I think just, being friendly, I definitely come in with the warm, dad loving kind of, hey, let's just talk it out. Let's just figure it out together right now. And I think once they know they have that, even if it's just a little bit of trust, it's somewhere, so I just kind of, and I just build on it. I just keep building and building and building until we get the full turnaround, like the Cadence Nelsons, you know what I mean? That will now might be mad at the world for 5 minutes, but he'll literally take a lap around the building and come back in and go, all right, coach, I'm sorry. I'm ready to go back to class. I can finish my work, or Miss Prye, I won't, it won't happen again. You know what I mean? And then we'll turn around and, another story, we'll have an issue with a student where literally a physical altercation took place, admit that he was wrong, and then say, hey, I want to turn around and shake that kid's hand. I want to apologize, shake his hand, and let him know that we're cool. We might have not had that, if we don't have this culture shift here. So be able to do that, and him be in the headspace to understand that he did something wrong, and then say, hey, I want to shake someone's hand and move,
Man.
and move forward, is huge. It's huge.
I think that is so cool about your school because I think Jennifer hinted to this, and then also Trinity Charter Schools from a previous podcast hinted to this. Like in a just like a standard public school, if there's a altercation in the classroom, they immediately separate the two, and you get suspended for a week or 2 weeks. And it's like they almost don't even allow you to like resolve and like fix. They just like, oh, you made a mistake, you're gone, and then you're suspended, see you later. And I feel like very little learning probably happens from that. I love how you guys, it's not like you're gone, you're suspended. It's like, hey, give ourselves 5 minutes to cool off. Let's go back, let's resolve things. Let's like patch, these, and let's mend these broken ties. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah. If you, I'm sorry, let me step away there.
Yeah, of course.
Just check out really quick.
Yeah, no worries.
I would add to that, Sean, while he does that, I would add that the similarity with Trinity and us is that it's two things, is that it's boundaries. When you set the expectation, the rules go out the door.
Yep.
Our expectation here at Sena High is we don't fight. I've had one altercation on campus. All of those young ladies found another school because they know we don't fight here. I didn't have all of them elected to withdraw. They just knew. Okay. The second piece to what Lawrence's wheelhouse is, and he's just incredibly talented with it, is the ability to build relationships and mend a broken fence at the same time. And that as that second, as that second chance, and as that kind of target comes on your back, you'll hear me tell teachers and my whole staff, did we ask the second question? And my first question, that's always the second question. The first question though is always, who's the kid's person? Who's their advocate? Who do they relate with? Where does the relationship start with? Because if we don't have the tight expectations and they don't have that person on campus, whether that's Jackson or an advocate or another teacher, we'll never get, a Cadence or a couple of those other student stories that we've shared to be able to mend the fence. And it is incredibly devastating to me, the amount of parent support that they think they don't have, when in the actual reality is that they do.
Yeah.
The parents still, that's kind of the next goal, right? The parents come in here at this culture shift where they can't go anywhere. Where they can't go, where they come in already in defensive mode. Yellow one. They come in there already in defensive mode, as if we're going to kick them out. We're not being fair. We're not being courteous. And we begin to share the whole story and the reality of the why, the second question. Then parents begin to feel comfortable and confident that we're going to help them out, but we're not going to work harder than them. That, again, that boundary piece, right? We've done a ton of work with Dr. Sean Woodley, who's the author of Move the Class. And he talks about constant and constraint and how we got to be able to find a balance between the chaos and the constraint. We got to be able to find a constant balance in the middle to be able to execute those types of things. And until we do that, we're always going to live either like mad or in this total chaotic life because we're not centered. So I think those would be the three, the three things: the relationship, who's the person, being able to ask the second question, and the boundary piece too. They know the expectation, and the rules go right out the door. We don't have that problem.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Thank you for clarifying a little bit more on that. And then you just barely mentioned it with like parents. You brought up parents, but it seems like up to that point, before you just said the word parents, it seemed like all your interactions have been very much like between you and the student, or the student comes to you and says, hey, I want to enroll. Or when most of the case, it's like the parents enrolling their students and the parents being involved. So my question to you is, with your relationship, where are the parents? Are they very involved? Are they not involved? And like, how do you interact with parents?
I'm gonna have Jackson start a parent basketball team.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm not far off though from having a parent advisory council meeting at a basketball game. I'll be 100% transparency. We had back to school night. I brought in a food truck, cotton candy food truck and a lemonade stand. Had a DJ out back. One of my teachers is a DJ. And I ran a parent university twice, total open house style. We had 90 of 120 families at that time show up. Of those 90 families, 22 of them were the students only. The family didn't come to the own kids' back to school night.
Crazy.
Right. So fast forward through the start of a school, through the school year, it's been a lot like that. We get about a 70% attendance rate with our student-led conferences with actual parents coming to them. We do those 4 times a year at the end of every term. It's required. It's part of their grade that they have to bring a person. And I would say roughly the same percentage actually bring an advocate or their teacher or someone else on staff. I've been to 3.
Crazy.
They have to ask the principal to come with them because their parents are that disconnected. Now that's not a knock. Parenting is hard. It is super hard. That for sure. I will 100% shout from the rooftops to whoever will listen. If you have the ticket to getting disengaged families in the door, I'm all ears. I'm all ears. We're going to try in the spring. Again, I take no credit. It happened to be fresh on my mind. I just approved, verbally approved it, if you will. We're going to try in the spring a car show. Lots of street life, just that kind of that street life and fancy authentic cars and stuff like that around here. Street racing is an unfortunate thing here in Albuquerque. This is obviously not that, but it's designed. We're designing it to go after that kind of disconnected, disenfranchised community to draw them in based on interest. I thought I gave Jackson $1 million for Christmas when I told him go ahead and see if we can get a video game truck in here for the kids, for the kids and the students to play. So I too can have another FaceTime with new parents who want to come to Sena High and existing parents that want to come to Sena High on the resources and things that we're doing for their students and how they have to participate too. My poor special education director, if he were here with us, I know he would tell you the bane of his existence is getting parents to commit to coming to their own students' IEP meeting. That's a legally bound service. Their student learns differently. We have, like, it's a legal requirement. You have to do this.
Right.
And parents don't, I don't know that the parents understand that yet. So kind of part of that spring fix in that parent university is to on purpose go over why a student needs an IEP and the parents' role in their students' special education service, because it's if they don't know. It's if they don't know.
Yeah. We're really trying to get them to understand it's a partnership, you know, and just like Ms. Prye said, just a lot of it is that I believe that they just don't know.
Right.
So just getting them up to speed, getting them the knowledge and the tools. And like we always say, we're going to add some more tools to your toolbox, you know, but understand that this is a partnership. You know, we're all in this together. So
Man, no, that's so true.
mm.
Well, man, I feel like we've had a really good discussion. I've really gotten to know, just like on a personal level, with some stories that you've shared, like what Sena represents. I was just wondering, before I dive into kind of like the last portion of the podcast, which is we call it like the lightning round. I was just wondering if there's anything that I've missed or anything that you'd like, you know, the majority of our listeners are charter school administrators. And so is there like anything that you feel like I've missed that you would like to share?
Aside from my basketball team telling me that they're not leaving, which I feel trying to figure out why. And they're just like, "You don't want to leave." I'm like, there's no one here. The lights are off and they're just
That's a good problem to have.
In our lobby, just hanging out, just talking, just waiting on me, I guess, for Miss Prye to be like, okay, go home.
That's I'm watching it on the cameras right now. They're like they're like little kids on Christmas morning in front of that Christmas tree.
I know, right?
Playing with somebody's computer. That's hilarious. Looks like Booby's computer. Oh my god.
No
That's funny.
All right, well, I'll make this last part quick so you can get to your basketball team.
Yeah, no, we're done. They're just, like I said, they just don't want to go. So it's fine. They're fine. They will, if anything, we are well protected.
Yeah.
Preach. Yes, sir. That's right. Yeah.
Protected.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're good. We're good.
Oh, well, so even though we call this the lightning round, don't feel like it has to be like a one-word response or super fast. It's just meant to, like, it's just gonna be a lot of questions. So if we just keep your answers, you know, less than 30 seconds, that's good. And I don't have a preference of who answers it, so I'm not sure if you want to alternate or what, but
that's hard for me and Jen to keep it under 30 seconds.
Sean, can we have a minute?
I know, right?
This is your podcast, so you can take as much as you want. So let's see. If you could go back in time, what is just one thing that you would have done differently with your school?
Hired Lawrence Jackson on day one.
Day one, Lawrence on the team.
Yep.
And my response is absolutely.
Yeah.
Should have already been here day one.
All right. So no, that's great for other administrators to know, like, get good people on your team that you trust, you know, build with the right people.
So Sean, you're 100% right. And to add to charter school leaders, don't feel if you're small and mighty, you have to do it by yourself. That is one thing that I know I struggled with in those early weeks. Was no problem. I got it. I'm going to do it all by myself. And there was no way. There was no way to do this right that I could do that. So good people for sure. Not being afraid though to ask for help and build it the way you want it built would be my add-on to that.
Cool.
I just want to add one last thing to that. To everyone that's listening or anyone that's listening, be okay with being the Indian. Be okay with being Indian, learn from the chief and really kind of dive into what the mission is, what the purpose is before you, kind of make, kind of just off the whim decisions or kind of getting your feelings about certain things. Be okay with being Indian, be okay with falling back and letting someone else take the lead and learning and understanding where they're going before making those big decisions. And I think me and Jen have a great relationship because she knows I'm going to follow, and not that I can't lead or not that someone can't be a leader, but she knows that I'm learning, and I'm okay with learning. And that's the part of the process, so sometimes you just got to take a step back and let the leaders lead and kind of really, as Jen says, get off my bus as she drives the train, but, really just take that time, just sit back, listen and learn, Right. Don't pass up the teaching moments and listen and learn. It's okay. You don't always have to be, not everybody's going to be LeBron. You know what I mean? Not everybody's going to be LeBron all the time.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
Cool.
It's okay to be AD.
Yeah, it's okay.
Feel great too, so.
Yeah, no, that's so true.
Yeah.
Awesome. No, I love the basketball reference. I'm a huge basketball fan.
Yeah.
Cool. By the way, I'm a Utah Jazz fan, so I hate the Chicago Bulls for what they did to us. So sorry about that, but
it's okay.
It's okay.
I'm still bitter about it. So
it's okay.
But John Stockton, Malone, man.
Right. I'm not gonna hate you guys for giving Michael Jordan food poisoning.
All right.
I understand. 2 a.m. Who's that guy? No. Yeah.
And okay, well, let's see here. So this is kind of I'm not sure if you do or don't, but is there anything that you would like to see happen, or any type of is there anything you'd like to see happen with your local, state, or federal government, like a law change or some type of thing that's kind of holding you back? Is there anything you'd like to see?
For me, I think because I don't know too much about that, I leave all that up to Jen. When it comes to that, I kind of just stay in my lane. But for me, one thing I like to see change is funding. I somewhat feel that sometimes there's a lack of funding and resources, and I get there's a lot to go into that with not having enough people that want to do certain positions, and I get all of that, but I just wish that the lack of funding and resources, the turnaround time with things was a little bit faster. And because sometimes we're in a situation like with our student and their family with the fire that they're like, oh, that is closed, or we can't help you now, or that window or that option isn't available. And I just think in certain situations there still needs to be those resources and that funding or something for them in the event that we have those kind of 911 situations, and it isn't just like, well, I'm sorry, there's nothing that we can do at this time. So I just I would like to see the funding and the resources kind of make a little shift for me.
Smart man. I would to add on to that, from a top vision, from a leader, from my role, right, is I learned at our state's public charter school leadership conference that the world comes to a screeching halt with a global pandemic, right? And we're going to get all this rescue money from the federal government dispersed to the states to deal with it as you want. It's called ESSER 1 and ESSER 2 and ESSER $3. I learned at our conference, now that we've got state mandated data to close the learning gap and accelerate the learning loss that was lost amidst the pandemic. It's going to take that on average in elementary school 4.2 years to recover, middle school 5.7 years to recover, and high school 6.7 years to recover. And they only gave us funding to get that accomplished for essentially 4 years. So as we begin to it's called the rebound. As we begin to rebound and we start to close that the gap for academic resources, that's what that ESSER fund's for the fire, for the, the loss of job and the loss of income and the loss of transportation. So now they can't get their kids to school. That's what that funding's for. Also for teacher salaries, all of that stuff is essentially, what's called CARES Act money for us to be able to take care of our school community. And that's done. That's essentially done unless we go back to the federal government and, see if there's another CARES Act that can be extended or a new act in place.
Yeah. And I know you guys explained it before I started the podcast, but do you mind taking a little time to explain like what you mean by the fire for everyone who's listening to the podcast and what happened?
Go ahead, Jackson.
So we have a student student athlete. And on, I believe it was today's Friday, I believe it was Tuesday, around 3 a.m., 4 a.m., their house started to catch fire. As the family woke up, they tried to, kind of contain it themselves. And just before they knew it, it was up in flames. So and this is a family of 8, 6 children, mother and father, all the way from kids from first grade all the way to the oldest, who's actually our assistant coach here, is 24, and they lost half of their house. So Javen and our assistant coach Ty, he and him lost everything. It was primarily in their bedroom, and then half the kitchen, and some of the other things that were caught up in flames. So they essentially, he literally had nothing. He literally got up in the morning and they took him to a friend's house with another one of our players here, and just took him in. They said, hey, we'll give him some clothes. He wanted to come to school, and literally came to school that same day, with a good attitude, just like, hey, it happens. There's nothing that I can do about it, and I'm here. And we had a game, and came to the game and played well and contributed, making baskets, making defensive stops, and the love and support that he got after that from, it was already in the workings from our lead social worker, Audrey Hayes, from everyone here in the building contributing, and is everyone jumping on board. But we had another parent who's a player on our team, named Leonard Lopez, is the father, and he's one of the managers at a Happy Days dealership. And they literally, him and his co-workers, put together $1,200 for the family. A lot of it was in gift cards, a lot of it in cash. I'll just say, half and half, and came here that same day and said, hey, this is not okay with us. This is right before the holidays. We're going to do something. We're going to do something right now, because this needs to happen right now. So
Wow.
as our lead social workers dealing with, again, back to the resources and people telling her, well, hey, we're kind of closed. There's nothing that we can do, go here, and kind of getting the runaround. And I get it, I get it. That's what part of what my frustration lies. But then you have a parent completely just go out of his way, and within 24 hours, we got $1,200 here. We got backpacks. We got our other social workers out in the community, from another, Jen can dive a little bit more on how all of that came together, but literally built a little store in one of our offices of tons of toiletries with lotion, toothpaste, all these things. We got brand new jackets and coats and shoes, literally within less than 48 hours, we had everything that a good start, a Christmas tree, so and because, again, we're building that kind of community and that love and support, that's what we got. And they're able to have, somewhere to stay, hotel vouchers, we're able to get them. So and then today, literally the dad called me last night. He said, I'm just not okay with this. I'm not okay with this. I heard that he needed to borrow some shoes. He said, I'm not okay with that. He said, I'm going to come to the school tomorrow. I'm going to give you $160. Please don't tell him that it's from me. Please let him know that it's from the team. And I'm giving each kid, money essentially to say that it's from them. So he came here, dropped off $160 cash. And during practice, it was supposed to be our lead social worker, Audra, and another student to go to Foot Locker to get shoes. And all the kids were like, no, we're all going to the mall. We're all going together. We're nope, he's not going by himself. We're all going, you know. And it wasn't just like, oh, I want to go hang out at the mall, because if you give these kids a wiffle ball and a little tight hoop, man, they'll play on it for hours. Like it does, you know, they love playing basketball. So the fact that, and I know I'm over my time here, but they rallied around him, man. And it's just a lot of love and support. And to see that, you know, them embrace him and, you know, kind of see that brotherhood and that bond form, it's another level, because then it becomes more than basketball. It becomes more than about the wins and losses on the court. You know, they have a real relationship and understanding now on and off the court. And, you know, it's different to see how they move around the school and how they interact with each other, and how the different groups have now kind of broken up, and now they have their own little group, you know, the basketball guys, you know what I mean? And it's just, you know, it really brought me to tears, you know, when they brought that money in here for him. And, you know, went down and got Jen and one of our board members. And you just don't see it all the time. And these are the stories that don't get told, or we don't hear about, you know, on Channel 7, you know, but it's a lot of good people out there in the world who are willing to make things happen, you know, for someone in need or a family in need. And not that this needs to be on the news or anything like that, but, you know, it was just nice to see. It was nice to see kind people come together in a time of need and really help and support their family. And then the kids to like rally around him and like, nope, we're all going together. He's not going, we're all going. You know what I mean? We're all going to pick out his shoes. You know, we're all going to make sure he's got what he needs, you know. And, you know, just to be in that moment, to see that was special. It tops any win or any championship that we can ever get here. Just a very, very special moment. So, but essentially that's what happened.
Man.
So, yeah.
So special, so cool. What a great story. And I mean, who wouldn't want to be like an environment where people had your back like that? So
yeah, definitely. It's different now. It's different. Like they got a different bond. You know, you can see it in their eyes, the way they talk to each other, the way they look at each other, the way they just high five and kind of like embrace. It's genuine.
Yeah,
you know, it's genuine. Like that's my brother right there. You know, I'll tell you another situation with Cadence. Him and the teammate get into a heated argument, and they're like, "Oh man, I'll kick your," and they're arguing, they're going at it. And Cadence walks away. He's like, "I'm not gonna do anything to you. You're my brother. You're my teammate. I'm just mad." You know, but you know, even in the moment of anger and rage, he still tells me, "Man, you're my brother. I love you, man. But you're just mad right now. Leave me alone."
dude, wow. Yeah,
it's different. It's very, very different. And I'm very fortunate to be a part of it, you know, and our first time, you know, because we definitely have, you know, me and Jen had our moments of like, "Ooh, are we going to be able to the first time?" And we going to the games.
We did. Yeah.
Kids are chapping, and it's basketball. There's some smack talking going on, and our kids, the sportsmanship is on another level. I mean, like they don't say anything, they don't get involved, they just play basketball, win or lose. They just, you know, they're upset about the 2 losses we have. But when I tell you, like, no issues. And I know in a different situation, if somebody bumps them the wrong way, it might be a problem. But on the court, so much composure, so much patience, and the sportsmanship, again, just we get commended all the time on how well behaved our boys are. And you get that on the court. And then outside of that, you get oh, that's the bad school. That's where all the kids that got kicked out go to. You couldn't tell me that.
yeah.
No, that's exactly right.
You know?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And for it to start right on this little unit of 8, it's beginning to trickle early already on, we don't do that here, right? And that's even among, you know, even amongst the teachers, right? There's 3 kids on that team where I had serious doubts if they're going to make it through a school year, right? Here, kind of, you know, here under my watch, of them being able to, you know, to kind of toe the line with the expectation and this culture shift that I was, you know, expecting out of staff and students. So to see the three of them now, maybe I am the enemy still, I'm not, but there's an element of just tremendous respect too, that all of them, I knew they didn't know they had it. And that's just a result of, I think all teachers, in particularly with these 3 students, all teachers, but a bond of a missing human too. And that missing person being Jackson. One of the students' dad stopped me at the last basketball game, just going through the roof about the shift change in his kid. And, I was 110% on board and stuff like that, as well. But it goes back to having that one person, and who is that human, this particular student can trust. And his dad said it best. I can say the exact same thing Coach Jackson says, and it ain't nothing from me, but it's gold from him. There is the relationship and the respect piece. When we put relationships first with kids and hold a line of accountability and expectation, it all starts to come into place. Not fast. It's super hard work. I'm not even trying to sugarcoat it. But I think I kind of think that's where that's at.
Man, so cool. I don't have any further questions. I'm so just impressed with what you're doing out in Albuquerque. I think, if someone is not getting that second chance they need, and if they're just looking for someone to listen to, like Lawrence said, like they should go to Sena. Like, seems like that's the place where they can get that second chance, get that person who's got their back. And so thank you so much for explaining to me like how you guys got to where you are, the type of services you offer, and like the programs that you offer, and just sharing really neat stories. So I'm just really appreciative for both of your time.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having us. Definitely thanks for having us.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks everyone for tuning in to the Charter School Connection podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
All right, guys. That's it. Thank you so much for your time.
Right on, Sean. Third time's a charm. We've had that scheduled 3 different times. I appreciate you.
Yep. So we finally got it done. It'll take me maybe it'll probably be middle of next week until you guys get like a finalized product, and I'll send it to you, and you guys can watch it or listen to it, and then you can always come back to me with like revisions, like, hey, I don't like this part, can you snip it out, or can you just tell me what you want, and then if you guys give me the thumbs up, I'll put it on all our podcast streaming services. So
nice. Will you be able to link that to our website too, and our social media accounts, or is that something I need to do?
No, that's what you pay Charter Connect for. So sit back and relax.
I was gonna say that's where that goes too, because you're gonna have to teach me how to do it. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, we'll make sure that your podcast is on your Facebook page. We'll try to submit it to local magazines, newspapers. That, like, this is money as far as marketing goes, because it's so genuine. Like, if someone sees a billboard, they automatically think like, okay, well, of course they're the best or whatever. But if someone listens to a podcast, there's just like sincerity and genuine likeness in it. And so people tend to gravitate towards that. So we'll definitely be publishing this once you guys give us the thumbs up on the final product.
Awesome. Thanks.
Great. Well, thanks so much. Have a good rest of your weekend, and happy holidays.
Thanks, you too.
Sean. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, of course. Bye.
Bye.